Click the links to join channel here over subscribe stars to set the ground for this. If you remember recently, the Supreme Court corrected a bad decision, and no matter, this has nothing to deal with how you feel about the underlying issue. The issue is of constitutional law, of the original decision of using the 14th Amendment, I believe, to say that it was a federal issue of somehow equal protection, perhaps, or due process. It was nonsensical on the face of it. And there's a whole conspiracy theory about why at the time they did that Roe decision. It didn't make sense. Like, it's been studied for 50 years. It never made sense. I mean, it was on the face of it insane. So the more you look at it, you think, oh, there probably is some kind of conspiracy going on behind the scenes they're doing something with that. And there probably is. But so the recent court decision corrected it, returned it to, I guess it's the 14th Amendment versus the 10th Amendment states' rights issues. And that's clearly the correct decision, no matter how you feel about the situation. Now, the difference in the left and the right: the left wants centralized authority. The right very much wants decentralized authority. We want to reduce the power of the federal government massively, massively, and increase the power of the states to run their states as they see fit. The expanding bloated bureaucracy that is the federal government is like it's headed for a civil war and a collapse, because history is just going to repeat. If anyone has any interest in stopping that, then you have to start stopping it right now. And apparently you just pissing in the wind when we say these sorts of things, because nobody wants to stop it. Like they just want to kick the can down the. I mean, there's so many things wrong at this point. And you look around and you say, so is anyone going to stop this? And you see like both Biden and Trump, to be fair. It's like, no, we're just going to spend more of these pieces of paper and it's like, okay. So like when this thing collapses, it results in civil war. And I mean, like nobody is thinking in 100-year time spans or in 1,000-year time spans. They're just thinking in 4-year time spans. Like, so you're sacrificing the people for your political power right now in the next 4 to 8 to 16 years. It's like, yeah, that's how it's been happening recently. So the Supreme Court decision returned the power back to the states, as is their right. States can do as they please. And it's weird the left doesn't respect that. No, of course they don't respect that. They don't want states' rights. They don't want family. The first destruction is like the thing you're focusing on is destroying the family, destroying the tribe, destroying the concept of neighborhoods by keeping people so confused and focused on the next shiny object and moving people in and out. They don't want people to develop roots. They want the people fighting the people instead of the people keeping their government under control. And we want decentralized power. We want a lot of things, and I don't think there's going to be I don't see anyone working towards a solution. So it's kind of easy to extrapolate and go, oh, okay, there's probably not going to be a solution among the political realm. They're just going to allow it to collapse and millions of people to suffer because they don't want to like make hard decisions now and fix things. Like, yeah, that's just, again, history repeats itself. So these idiots, these idiots, Hollywood, and The View itself, a bunch of idiots, are advocating violence if you don't let them continue to do violence. And when I say we have irreconcilable differences, this is what I mean. And the best thing to do is to try to get as many people to really open their eyes and realize that. And like to say you have irreconcilable differences and you either want to split back into like a hard 50 state model or a super region model or something else. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's also better than what is coming. Like, oh, the bankers are very concerned about who will pay the debt to the bankers. And it's like, well, that'll take care of itself. What happens if we just didn't? What happens if we let the bankers pay the bankers? That's why they very much want centralized authority. They want you to be debt slaves for the rest of your life. So she's on, I guess, The View is owned by ABC, which is owned by Walt Disney Company, which is owned by globalists. So Jane Fonda, to left of the bell curve, and everyone on The View is to the left of the bell curve. And they're speaking to millions of people, and like even the concept. I mean, it's kind of like the 19th Amendment concept. It's like we have fundamentally different worldviews. We're kind of between like emotional feelers and people who just want to analytically think. So on this View, she's talking about pro-life, the recent Supreme Court decisions about returning to a states' rights issue, and it's like the only way to save the country is returning to a states' rights issue and defunding the federal government like on a massive, massive, massive scale. And they're probably not going to do that. And if you don't do that, you're probably going to face a war with tens of millions of people who are going to permanently suffer and like see history repeat itself in terms of people going on a 0 calorie diet for a few decades. And what happens with that? It's like, yeah, we're going to allow that to happen instead of trying to fix it now. Because we're at the end stage. We're just going to loot the treasury as much as possible and change that paper USD into something more tangible overseas. It's like, yeah, it's all actually happening. Politicians don't get worth $100+ million without breaching their duty, their fiduciary duty, and their duty of due care to their representatives and all this kind of stuff. It's like it happens. The biggest lie. It's when you see it happen right in front of your face, and they try to gaslight you. It's like, is anyone going to talk to Nancy Pelosi about that insider trading, Security Exchange Commission? Anybody, FBI going to start? No, it's been going on for like 30 years. Yeah, okay, well, it doesn't need to go on another day longer. Yeah, it's going to continue to go on. Okay, it's weird that nobody does anything about it. Form local groups. I mean, that's really the only way to kind of survive this. And I know how hyperbolic and tinfoil hat that sounds, but I think history will kind of show the way out of this. So she's talking about pro-life Republican politicians. Keep in mind this is a simple constitutional question of the 10th Amendment. I think states' rights versus the 14th Amendment. That insane interpretation of either equal protection or due process. I don't remember. It's just a simple issue. It's like this is clearly a states' rights issue. And she goes, "Oh, we should kill Republican politicians if they won't let us kill our babies." Okay, that's what I mean when I say we have irreconcilable differences. I mean, even something like the 19th Amendment, I look at that and I go like, that should be on the table too, because there's a lot of people, both men and women, who look at that and go, yeah, that probably is an issue where maybe was not the correct decision because you see where it kind of leads. And to say that now, if you say that in the current political climate, you're going to have a lot of left wing people lose their mind, but you have a lot of right wing people, men and women included, who are going to be thoughtful and go like, maybe it should be a vote for like a family vote, and the head of the family votes, and the head of the family is obviously going to be the husband, because that values it puts the power back into a patriarchal family structure. And even things like arranged marriages, like to change things, you have to change things. If you want to lose weight and get healthy, you have to eat less and start moving. And to change the direction the West is going in now, it means you have to change what you're doing. Otherwise, if you don't change, you're just going to get the same results. And so a lot of that stuff is, you can look at all the amendments post number 10 and go, oh, we need to probably re-examine all of these things and to change the direction the country is going in. Where if you have her says that she wants to delete Republican politicians, and she's on a show with a bunch of other idiots. Like, she's an idiot. She's legitimately an idiot, but everyone on The View is also an idiot. I mean, some of them are shockingly to the left of the bell curve, but they're speaking to millions of people, and it's like, this is just accepted, and people go, oh, I heard it on TV. She's advocating violence if we're not allowed to do violence at the state level to our kids. Yeah, I'm saying this is the irreconcilable differences. There's this schism between worldviews, and there's no meeting in the middle with somebody like this who. Then the Maxine Waters saying, oh, you need to get in the politicians' faces. If you see them pumping gas, if you see them engaging in their daily life, and most civilized, reasonably intelligent people go, okay, well, we want to live in a first world civilized world where you have discourse on social media, you have it in the political sphere through interviews, but not to bother people in their real life because they still have the right to go pump gas and go out to dinner. Because if you're going to harass them when they're going out to dinner and driving their own cars and pumping gas, well, they're going to have armed security and limousines, and they're not going to be among the public if they're in danger. You're saying you want to turn the country from this open liberal country where people have this civilized worldview to go, oh yeah, not to disturb somebody at dinner. Like, that's how civilized people believe. And you have Maxine Waters telling her constituents, no, you need to harass them at dinner. It's like, well, then they're just not going to go out to dinner. They're not going to drive their own cars. They're going to be escorted around in limos with an armed guard. So, like, I mean, this is not like you're not going to have the opportunity to harass them at dinner more than once. They're just not going to go out to public spaces. So now everyone is deprived of having at least being able to live in a society where politicians are free and safe. It's like you say you want to live in a low trust. Like in some countries, the politicians and jurors and judges and representatives have to cover their faces when they're doing things because they're in danger from the cartels. It's like, so you're saying that's what you want to head the country in this uncivilized direction of a low trust society. Yes, that's, I mean, she literally said those kind of things. Like they're publicly saying these kind of things. And the mainstream media is just accepting this and sometimes accelerating this kind of stuff. It's like, this is where I say we have irreconcilable differences, but we also have probably 100 million plus people who don't want to live like that, who are want to live in like a high trust society. And then you have this other 100 million people who are kind of, I don't know, maybe there's 100 million people who are just kind of checked out, but then there's 100 million people who are on firmly on the left, who they want to live in this people's paradise where, like, say you want to live in something like Latin America, Latin American level of low trust, where politicians are have armed guards and have to live in gated communities. You have no interaction with them at all whatsoever because they can't trust the public. Why would you want to do that? And you look at someone like Maxine Waters or Nancy Pelosi saying people are tearing down statues and they'll do what they do. It's like, maybe think maybe think a year into the future and then 100 years in the future, and they're not at all because they don't represent us at all. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next episode.